particularly because the last battle in South Africa, which was called the Battle of the Whites wanting us to pay for our head, that if you are born as a man, you must pay for your head. That led to a war that was very bitter. It was the last one. And that war said to our ancestors, the time to fight, it is clear that is no longer necessary. Let us establish a party that will defend all blacks, all Africans in South Africa. That's how the African National Congress was established, by very important leaders, the traditional leaders who were the leaders in our country, who were in charge of their country, and the pastors who had become pastors after the education of how much we needed to respect God and respect the heaven and everything. These people then said to all who were below them, who were, in other words, ready to fight, who had been fighting as well. And they were there as the people who participated fully in the struggles to try to defeat the enemy that had arrived. We finally were defeated as these were having more dangerous weapons than us. But that battle I'm talking about made us in South Africa to take a decision that we should no longer fight, but let us have a party that is going to campaign for freedom, because we're no longer free. It took a long time, and it was supported by everyone, including our colleagues, brothers and sisters throughout the continent. But as we were moving, and doing everything we could to say we need to be free, we are human beings, we are not animals. The oppressors were not worried. Instead, as they did, they colonized the entire continent and made us the owners and the indigenous people, as if we were the ones who came and found them ruling our country. They forcefully colonized us, and we had nothing to do except to say, let us discuss, let us be free. And they were not worried about that. They took everything, as my colleague was saying here. They took the land, everything, and pushed us from our areas to areas they thought were not important. We were very much close to what you could call slaves, because they did everything, made our traditional leaders just choices that are around, nothing else. They had no right to defend their own people. by law, the Roman Dutch law. We had nothing. Our laws were put aside. We're angry, many wars, many people died. There was the last World War, which finally, when they were making peace globally, which excluded us, just them, they said, we should not longer make the people that we found in their areas miserable. We believe, as they said, we should have everybody being equal, what they call the equal rights. Everybody must be free. They must live the normal life, but not in Africa. They didn't. In Africa, they left us with what was called the countries that were belonging to Europe. The British had their own people here. The French had their own people here. They were staying there. And therefore, everything that was here, including what we were living on, was no more ours. They were taking everything from Africa to go and make their places more shine, to have everything. We were starving. They took land, they took everything. The fact that we're here, just a few of them were here, the majority were there, they actually were the ones who were ruling us. It was that led us to say, if they don't listen to us, what must we do? One of the presidents of the ANC, Chief Lutuli, in one of the meetings of the leadership, he asked the question, why are we being told by the whites that we are in fact the citizens when we are not? Why did, after the last World War, when they met, they said every human being must be given the right to be free, to think that others do. And he said, when the big countries met and said, them equal rights, they us. We were not involved there because we had no equal rights. The whites were more above. They were doing everything they wanted to do. And he said, this is unfair. In the meeting, he said, let us fight for our rights. And he said the Western countries in particular were not indeed thinking we are human beings. They thought that they were the human beings. We were their own things that are just kept around to be told what to do, what not to do. And he said, we must convince them that they are wrong because we are oppressed in our own countries. The discussion said, well, Comrade President, you cannot go there and talk to the whites about it because we are a president. You needed to fight here. And said, you must go or we must take your deputy. And it was agreed, and that's what led to President Tambo to be sent out to go and raise the issue that we cannot live in the manner in which we are. He went to stay and operate from London. Shortly thereafter, the ANC was banned. So in other words, let alone the right to raise your views, which was allowed to everybody else, but to us black ones, we were not allowed to do so. That is what led to the ANC to say, well, under the circumstances, we are left with no alternative but to fight, take arms and fight again. After a long debate, it was agreed by all serious political parties. We had to say, let us fight once again. As we fought them when they were coming, let us fight them to take them out of our countries. Then, because we started fighting, we started saying, let us fight. Tambo went to the Western countries to ask if you could help to train our soldiers so that we can fight. What did the Western countries say? Mr. Tambo, never do so. Because you are actually saying we must train you, have guns, know how to shoot and kill. You want to go back and kill our brothers and cousins. We will never do so. So the Western countries said they were not ready to help us liberate ourselves, partly because those were their own countries, as it were. Tambo said, well, I've failed with the Western countries. They should help us to liberate ourselves. I said that, let me go to the Tambo. I said that she did. Only when we went in the East, the socialist countries, the understanding that these were people who said no one should oppress the other. And they trained us, made us soldiers. We started fighting. And that's what made us to be free at the end. That tells you the thinking of the countries that oppressed us all in Africa. They actually believe they own us. We belong to them. When we were now fighting and other countries going to demand to be free, they realized they were losing something. So what did they say? They said, okay, you have never, as if they found us just sitting. The fact that they found us with traditional leaders at different levels was not an issue to them. So they said, fine, we'll give you, what was it called? First, when we were given, I don't know, it was 1 year or something, to be checked whether you can rule a country. What was called self-governing. Just to check whether can you Then if they think yes, they said, okay, we now give you freedom. They kept every other thing except just giving us freedom, and gave us the laws and everything. And therefore they were continuing, but now not in an open manner. And they will call you to come and check whether you can now run a country. Well, fine. Well, they thought when they came, we were not ruling, and we were ruling. That tells you the thinking of the Western countries. Very clear. The country that tells you the thinking of the Western countries. Very clear. The countries from the East helped us to fight. But the laws that they made against us were the laws that were not fair. They still belonged to them. They still belonged to them. Because we did not have anything to change our own lives. But we're free. But in reality, we're not free. Once they did so, once they realized that our leaders, and in particular, our leader from here, who was the first to lead a country, they plan all the tricks